¿Qué onda? Thanks for watching Doing Life with Jenny. If you are new here, ignore that mess. I'm getting ready to move to Mexico. I am currently a Spanish teacher in the US, but I'm building a house in the state of Hidalgo, Mexico, and I am moving there at the end of this school year. Today we're talking about what I would do differently if I were to buy or build a house in Mexico again. So the short answer would be that I would have more patience. But after teaching for 16 years, and for many of those years having multiple jobs and or roommates, my patience is long gone. So I got in a bit of a hurry. Like, do I regret anything? No, but I would definitely do a few things differently. Also, I feel like a traitor because I'm wearing my Ecuador shirt. If you didn't see my Ecuador video in 2021, I made one about how I chose living in Mexico over Ecuador. So basically, I started house hunting in Mexico before I had like an official plan to move there. Like, it was in the back of my mind, but it wasn't like, oh yeah, in 5 years or 10 years, I'm heading to Mexico. And I think, like most people, I just enjoy looking at houses. Here's my buddy Ruthie. Ruthie, will you tell everyone hi? I love you too. So basically, my lack of patience is like the underlying factor in everything I'm going to mention in today's video. So the original plan was to buy a house that already existed and in a place that's not where I'm building my house. It's just more environmentally friendly to buy something that already exists instead of creating demand for new materials. And you're not like disturbing the land that's just doing its nature business. So I went to the website LiQWYD, which I'll put on the screen, as well as another website that I can't think of at the moment, but I'll put it on the screen if I think of it. And I would just like scroll through all of the options in a few cities that I had selected. One of them being Mexico City. I was also interested in Puebla or Cholula and Aguascalientes. And although I have never been there, San Luis Potosí, after doing a little bit of research. Fun fact, I never visited my city until I bought my land. But anyway, back to the house hunt. And essentially I was looking for something that was at least 3 bedrooms and 1, hopefully 2 baths. Something with a yard for the pup. I don't know if she's off screen for you guys or not, but she's over here on the pillows. And something that was very walkable, especially to the market because that's where you're going to go regularly. Okay, so I had this mental checklist. At that time, the budget was around $70,000 because I was going to take 5 years to save for this. Little did I know I was going to end up moving in like 2.5 years or maybe 3 at the most, not 5. Yes, you can find homes and decent homes in that price range in Mexico, even for cheaper if you want to do like an apartment. Of course, location plays a big factor in that. So why did I want what for me is a large home with at least 3 bedrooms, 1, hopefully 2 bathrooms? Because the plan was to rent out the extra bedrooms, either on Airbnb or have like a permanent roommate or 2. That was going to be my source of income. So I would be on the house hunt and I would find a house that met like the size requirements I was looking for, but it would be like kind of a suburb type of deal where I would need a car. But we're doing this move on a budget, friends. Car is not fitting in the budget. It has to be walkable, like that's a non-negotiable. So then I would move the map like more towards the center of the town or city. But then the houses that were in my price range were more like a 2-bedroom apartment or a small house that needed a lot of work. So basically I decided I wasn't going to find the right house in the right location in like a major city. So I started looking at land that still met those requirements and that were still in those cities. There really isn't land available, or it's not available at all because the city has already been built. Like, the city kind of works its way from the center and then you expand out. So I wasn't finding land in like a walkable spot. And if I was, it was too expensive. Like, houses in Mexico are a lot cheaper in the US, but I was finding that the plots of land were going for around the same prices as in the US. This is based on very little research, okay? So I started expanding my search to smaller cities, like ones that most people have never even heard of. Unless you are from that state, you probably haven't heard of it. So that's when I came across some land for sale in my city, which, by the way, I will never tell you the name of it for safety reasons, but we'll just say it's in Pachuca. It's near Pachuca. It might be Ixmiquilpan, it might be Arenal, it might be Actopan, it might be Progreso, it might be Ajacuba, but it's in that general region. And since it's not a major city, I did find land big enough to build on, and it was for a very fair price. $15,000, and it's like 17.9 meters by 19.9 meters, somewhere around there. I'll put the exact measurements and the conversion to feet on the screen. So great, I have land. Now I need to put something on the land. So I draw up my plans with like a 4-bedroom house with 2 or 3 bathrooms to get some quotes. So I knew it was going to be a bit of a stretch to get the house built, that big of a house built in my budget, which again was around $70,000, including the land. So I already spent $15,000, so that takes me down to $55,000 left for the house, right? 55 plus 15, 70, yeah. But I thought it was doable, or maybe just it would be at least 3 bedrooms, right? No, wrong. Because this is when the pandemic was coming to an end and prices started soaring. Inflation started getting out of control and has only gotten worse throughout this entire process. So basically, at the end of the day, I ended up with a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house in budget, walkable area, but it's like hindsight, you know? Because when I was first house hunting and I saw those smaller homes in the right area, it's like, well, how am I going to have bedrooms to rent out if it's only 1 or 2 bedrooms? Well, that's what I ended up with, man. Like, I had no way of knowing. I mean, I did stick to the budget. It's going to be about $70,000 total between the house and the land, because the house is about $50,000. Which will probably end up being more like $60,000 because of inflation. With the land dispute stalling everything, just prices have gone up and up. Yeah, so if I had known, I would have just bought the smaller something that was already built. On the other hand, it did work out well that I chose like a smaller city because of the cost of living, because I also didn't know I was going to be moving so soon. Like I said previously, the plan was like to have 5 years to save up and make all of this happen, and like I'm going at the end of this school year, 45 days. I started a countdown. So had I gone with the smaller option in a larger city, then the cost of living would have been a little bit too high to make the move possible now. Then the last thing is that I should have waited until I actually lived in Mexico full time before starting any of this process. Like, it's one thing to like be casually house hunting to get a feel for different areas or to know like what your money can get in certain price ranges, but it's another thing to actually make it happen and you live in a different country, because it has been a big pain in the patootie. If it weren't for my architect and good friend, like, this wouldn't have been possible. He has saved my butt so many times by running here and there to take care of paperwork and go to different offices for permits and everything. I do not recommend that you try to buy a house if you're not already in Mexico. I did give my architect power of attorney to take care of these things for me, and then once the land dispute came about, I also gave my lawyer power of attorney to take care of things too. That's the only reason I was able to do this. But again, I think usually things work out how they were meant to be, because if I would have waited until like actually living there full time, so this coming summer, like prices are only going up. So I was able to pay the cheaper price for the land because my neighborhood is already starting to develop pretty quickly, so the prices have already kind of gone up significantly. So I am thankful that I started the process, otherwise it would have been even more expensive. I was kind of thinking about making a video on how to buy property or a house in Mexico, but at the same time, like, I feel like I don't have much to say about it because basically my architect and my lawyer did most of it and I would just send money, or I had to fly down and sign some stuff a couple of times. But I'm happy to make the video if you're interested. Like, I do have a few things that I personally experienced, and then of course I know what they did on my behalf and I could share that for you. Just know you would be the one doing it instead of somebody else doing it for you. That's a wrap for today, guys. If you'd like to continue following me in my journey in moving from the US to Mexico, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Adios!